Hey everybody, it's Kira and welcome back to my channel. So today I have my April wrap up for you guys. I read 13 books in the month of April, so definitely one of the best reading months I've had in quite a while. And a lot of that had to do with the Owls Readathon. So I'm just going to show you the books that I read for the Owls Readathon, but I will have a separate wrap up for the Owls Readathon coming hopefully shortly. So I will link that below when it is available. So I'll just do that really quickly. So the books that I read for the Owls Readathon are Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Only Child, Beautiful Ruins, The City of Brass, Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy, and The Witch of Duva. So those 6 books I will be talking about in a separate video, so if you want to hear my thoughts on that, check out that video. But I will now talk about the rest of the books that I read in the month of April, starting with the rest of the Gallagher Girl books. So I read 5 out of the 6 Gallagher Girl books this month, which was part of what helped get me to 13 books because they're all a lot smaller. So like I said, I read Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy for the Owls Readathon, but then I was just really wanting to finish the series, and then the Stay Home Reading Rush came up and I figured, why not just go for it? So I then read Don't Judge a Girl by Her Cover, Only the Good Spy Young, Out of Sight, Out of Time, and United We Spy. I read these books back in 8th grade, 9th grade, somewhere along there. But it's been a really, really long time since I've read them. And it was so much fun rereading these books. Also, I need like a television show of this series right now. So if you don't know, the Gallagher Girls series is about a girls' school for spies. And we follow our main character, Cammy, as the first book starts when she's 15. And so it goes from her sophomore year through her senior year. And just the craziness that happens when you go to a secret school for spies. So the first 2 books are mainly like romance focused, kind of, but once you hit book 3, there starts to be people like coming after. One of her friends is being targeted, and so book 3 is when things like really start to take a turn and you really start to see like this darker, like the much darker side of the spy world. And they're just so wonderfully written. They're so easy to read. And I had so much fun rereading these books. And especially because like up to book 3 I kind of like had remembered what happened, but after book 3 I did not remember like hardly anything. And so it was so much fun to be able to just like go back through and almost like relearn what happened and rediscover what happened, since I couldn't remember anything anyways. But yeah, it just has like such a satisfying conclusion, and the friends are like, the friend group in this series is so much fun, and I just really loved getting to dive into Cammy's character, especially in the later books, and just like learning more about her story and her background. And yeah, I cannot recommend this series enough. So next up I have a book that's a little bit different, and that is Inklings of Experience. And this is a book of poetry. So if you don't know, I went on a study abroad trip to Oxford, England this past summer. And it was such an amazing experience. It was a 2-class course, and so we had a literature section and then a creative writing section, and the creative writing was all about poetry, which I was not like super excited for when I first joined, but I feel like my poetry definitely grew and I have a much better like understanding and appreciation for poetry now. So for our final, we were required to submit 4 of our poems and then write like a 3-page like paper kind of explaining like our process in developing these poems and like how we did it, because like for each of the poems that we were required to write during the course, we were given like certain things that we were supposed to either talk about or like a poet we were supposed to kind of mimic, that kind of thing. And so my professor actually put all of our poems together in a book and gave it to each of us. So it just has pictures from either just from Oxford or from our trip specifically of us, and all of our poems in it. And so I finally sat down and read this. I've had it since like October, I think, but I just never got around to reading it. So I finally sat down and read it, and it's really good. It's funny because like there's some stuff that we all kind of talked about, like there's a bunch of poems about homesickness, which makes sense. There was 14 of us on this trip, by the way. It was like a smaller class. but it was kind of funny seeing like the similar themes throughout everybody's poems. So yeah, homesickness was one, writer's block was another one, which I thought was kind of funny. And then like the things from class too, but it was interesting how like different people explored the things differently. So it was just a lot of fun, like, and my classmates are very talented, so it was a good time overall. So next up I have the only audiobook I listened to this past month, and that was Obsidian by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the third book in the Illuminae files, and I was really glad that I reread this because I did not remember anything that happened in this one. Are you sensing a theme here? It's been a couple years since I've read this, and I read Illuminae and Gemina last months before, earlier this year. But I read them on audiobook because I hadn't done that yet, and so I obviously wanted to finish the series, and so my hold for Obsidian came in through the Libby app, which I used to listen to audiobooks, so I was able to listen to it, and like these audiobooks are so good. Like, they are total productions because they have like a full cast narration, so it's really fun to be able to like listen to everybody, and especially this one because this is when like everybody comes together, and so you have like everybody talking at some point, like all the characters from the past two books. So it was super fun. I think Gemina is still my favorite of the series, but Obsidian was just really fun, and I'm really glad that I was able to finish off the series. And then the last book that I read in the month of April, which I finished right at the end of April, is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So yes, I read HalfBlood Prince and Deathly Hallows in 1 month, which is crazy. So this finishes my reread of the Harry Potter series, and this book flew by, and I wasn't expecting it to, but I would read like 200, like I would sit down and read like 200 pages at a time, or like, it was just crazy to me how fast this book went, especially since like, especially in like the first half when they're hunting for Horcruxes, like nothing happens for a while. But it was really fun just going back through, and especially since like I know the movies so much better than I know the books, and so it was nice to see that like some of the dialogue was lifted straight from the book into the movie, which was great. So I'm going to talk about Snape. So obviously spoilers if you have never read the Harry Potter series, but I was curious as to how I would feel about Snape after this reread, because it's been a really long time since I've read the series. Like I said, I've seen the movies like so many times, but I think I've only read the full series like twice, maybe 3 times. I don't know, I haven't read the whole thing a lot. I'm gonna put this down because this is really heavy. But yeah, I was really curious as to what my feelings about Snape would be, since like I don't really like him, but I know like there's the whole like redemption thing and his love for Lily and whatever. So yeah, especially like now having grown up a bit and like having seen a lot of discourse, I guess, a lot of conversation around Snape, I was curious as to what my thoughts would be after reading it this time. And I do have a much greater appreciation for him being a double agent. When Harry's going through his memories and Snape is talking to Dumbledore, like Dumbledore puts so much on Snape, including his own death, and I feel like Snape didn't deserve to have that much like responsibility put on him. And like being a double agent, like working with Voldemort, but also trying to not let him know that you're not truly working for him would have been so incredibly difficult. And like there was even, I'm pretty sure like Dumbledore says this at one time, like talks about you have to like give enough correct information that Dumbledore doesn't suspect that Snape is a spy, but you can't give like too much correct information because then like their plans would have gone to crap. So I do have like a much greater appreciation for the work that he did for the Order of the Phoenix and for Dumbledore, but with that being said, I don't think it overcomes what he did to, not just to Harry and how he treated Harry throughout his years at Hogwarts, but also like his friends. So he, like Snape treats Hermione awfully, he treats Ron horribly, he treats Neville like horrifically, and I mean all of the Gryffindors in general, but like those 4 specifically, he targets and tries to get them in trouble and totally bullies them and makes fun of them. And I just don't think that his actions overcome that amount of, like, I don't know, like, despicableness, I guess. And it doesn't make me a bad person for not forgiving him, maybe, but I can't forgive him for the way that he treated those kids. And they're kids. Like, I get that he doesn't like Harry, but there's a difference between just, like, not liking somebody and then going out of your way to, like, bully them. And Snape just took it way too far. And also, I don't get his love for Lily. Like, he has, like, a crush on her when they're really little, and so I get that. And then as they go to school, like, obviously things change. But, like, Snape doesn't try to keep Lily on his side either. She tries to discourage him from going into the dark arts, and she's like, why are you hanging around with these people, and, like, you like to be called Death Eaters. Like, she doesn't like him at the end, like, in any way. Like, they're not even friends. And, like, he just has this obsession with her, and I just don't, it's just not something that I enjoyed seeing in the book. Is, like, I don't know. And I think I saw this somewhere along the Harry Potter internet, but, like, there's a difference between, like, because James's Patronus was a stag and Lily's was a doe, and so, like, they're different, but they work together, like, they match, versus, like, Snape's being a doe and Lily's being a doe he's just, like, obsessed with her. So there's a difference between, like, love and obsession, and I feel like I understood it, like, that side of Snape a little bit better, just in the fact of, like, this is not something that I want to be a part of, and, like, and that, like, I don't like this at all. But I appreciate Harry, like, going out of his way to, like, clear Snape's name as far as him, like, actually being on the good side, but I would not have named my kid after him, let's be real. So, with all that being said, those are my main thoughts about Deathly Hallows. Also, I cried when Dobby died. Like, that's not fair. And also, it coming on the heels of Hermione's torture, and you don't really have time to process that until you get to Shell Cottage, and then Dobby dies, and you're like, no! And then, of course, like, the final battle, like, it's gonna happen. But I so thoroughly love this series, and of course it has its faults, like any series does, but I will always be a fan of Harry Potter, and I'm so glad that these books exist. So yeah, that's it. Those are all the books that I read in the month of April. Comment down below, let me know what you guys read last month. Did you participate in the Owls Readathon? How did you do? Spoiler alert, I passed all my exams, as you could see by the 6 books that I read. Like I said before, there will be a separate video talking about each of those books, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links will be in the description as always. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!